Hello, this is Storm Warden coming back at you today with another video update. And today we're going to talk about the upcoming weather pattern and what we can expect over the next few days, over the next week or so, as far as any big storms on the horizon, cooler air patterns, and any severe weather chances to look forward to. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I've taken a little hiatus. My last video was like last week. Much needed break, but I'm now back and I plan on giving you guys a video each day, getting back to regular scheduled programming. Hurricane Milton was a huge storm. It made landfall as a Cat 3. Um, really caused a significant tornado outbreak across southern Florida and caused some significant storm surge along the west coast of Florida. So we are going to do an overview of Milton at some point. I still need to do an overview of Helene as well. So we got some videos coming up, some more interesting videos, some more meteorological videos coming up for you. So if you want to see that, please be on the lookout for those videos. But without further ado, we're going to get right into this video. So now we're looking at the GFS model, and this is a long range. And what we're going to do is we're going to just go through this entire model run. We're going to go all the way 384 hours out. And looking at this as far as any big storms on the horizon, we're going through time, and we have a lot of troughing. So we're gonna have a pretty cool week coming up. We could actually see some frost Thursday morning. So it's gonna get pretty cool around here. So expect some cooler temperatures, maybe in some frost advisories. You see the tropics. Tropics are still churning out there in the Atlantic. Couple of severe weather chances are going to start to come up too, as well as you get some troughing out west and some ridging out east. But overall, guys, it doesn't look too crazy. Going through the long range, you went through this model run, and as you look, there's just not a lot. There's just not. But there's definitely some things to watch out for, and as you go deeper into the video, we're going to get all into that. So that was the GFS model. Now looking at the Euro model, as far as the long range, it only goes out 240 hours, I think. Yeah. So we're going through time, and again, pretty big trough coming through this week, which should give way to some cooler mornings, maybe upper 30s, possibly. And then we got a tropical system watch out in the southwestern Atlantic as well. But generally speaking, guys, things don't look too crazy, and this is welcome after what's been a crazy active period with Milton, with Helene, and then with all the other things that have happened. It's just been really, really, really crazy. So it's very nice seeing this more relative quiet pattern to what we've been seeing. Now, we talk about the southwestern Atlantic and the tropics. So there's a couple areas you need to watch out for. One of those areas, or the biggest area, being over here in the southwestern Atlantic. So there's a 40% area over here, and I'll go ahead and show you that. There's a 40% chance of or 50% chance actually, so it went up. There's a 50% chance of cyclone formation in the next 7 days over here in the southwestern Atlantic, and it's generally moving pretty westward. And I'm actually going to talk about that a little bit because we have a really weird pattern. There's a ton of ridging over top of this system, which is crazy for October. So generally speaking, if we can actually get a pretty defined well system to form, we could see something sneak into the Caribbean again. So you don't want to see that because environmental conditions in the Caribbean are quite favorable. So we don't want to see anything get going down here because it won't be good news. But going back to our ensemble members, we're going to go through our ensemble members, and this is the 12Z, so it's brand new. And again, this is our area out of Southwest Atlantic. Now, I know you see this area over here in the Caribbean. I wouldn't necessarily pay attention to it because sometimes GFS is good for spinning up vortices and just giving us these weird systems that don't actually ever form. But you can see our area over here in the southwestern Atlantic. And generally, it looks very anemic. There's not a ton of members. And the reason for that is because GFS doesn't show nearly as favorable an environment as some of the other ensemble members. So generally speaking, the GEFS ensembles are pretty anemic with this system. They don't really develop this into anything meaningful, which would be great news. We don't need another tropical system going through the Caribbean. And doing what it does. We just don't need that right now, but that is a possibility. It does seem like though that these members start to brighten up just a little bit as you get further west. So it may be one of those situations where the further west this system gets, the better it starts to really get itself together. But again, still some questions regarding that. But there is a 50% chance of development over here in the southwestern Atlantic. Here are the EPS ensemble members, and scroll down, and these are EPS ensemble members, and here we go. And you can see this area over here in the southwestern Atlantic, and you can see how we got a pretty some members showing potential development. Some go north, some keep going west. But again, I don't think any of the ensembles are really excited with this system. So that is something to keep in mind. But they do show some development. So it's possible that we might get a name, but we might get a name that isn't really a strong storm. So, and then with so much troughing over the east right now, I'm not sure that if we were to get a system form, if it will just be able to just keep going west. I do think at some point we'll probably have another trough that digs in that keeps anything probably from pushing north. So we may have a system that just keeps going west. There's also be strong ridging over top as you get later into the month, which means that that could also help steer things west. So again, just a couple factors to look out for, but this is certainly an area to watch. Southwestern Atlantic environmental conditions are quite favorable, low shear, high heat content, and overall just very good moisture content as well. So if we can get something going in this area, I wouldn't be surprised if we can get something really good going in this area. But again, will we get a system form? Still a question mark. So just going back to this, 50% chance cyclone formation, generally moving westward. You can kind of see a little bit of a northward turn, a little bit of northward turn here. So indicated in some ensemble members, but again, there's a 50% chance. Now, looking at our troughing pattern, our 500 millibar heights, I love to look at this because it gives us a pretty good idea of our upper level pattern and what we'll be dealing with going later into the month. So, obviously, as we start today, you can see our trough digging down, which is going to bring us cooler weather today, tonight, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So we should see cooler air pretty much most of this week. But notice how ridging starts to build over top as you get later into the month. And as that does so, we get some troughing out west. So what this is going to have to do is a couple of things. This is probably going to help increase our temperatures and warm us back up a little bit. So we'll probably see more mild temperatures going into later this week, into next week. But we'll probably also see some troughing out west, which should give way to some severe weather opportunities out west. And we always know that we do have a second severe weather season, second tornado season. We do have one here in North Carolina as well in the fall late season. So again, do not be surprised. We start to see a lot more severe weather opportunities spike up, especially if we can get this western troughing back and this eastern ridging, which would just mean that we will see warmer air over here, and then you see some cold fronts over here in the west that typically go up like this, like a slide, and then go up like that. So again, a couple things to watch out for, but generally speaking, this is a pattern. This is a pattern that might favor some severe weather. So we have to watch out for this. But again, you can see that region over top. So if we do get a system that forms in the southwestern Atlantic, I can definitely see how that thing keeps going west. I can definitely see that with so much region over top. Here's the EPS, 500 millibar height. Sort of shows the same thing, that trough coming in. That's a pretty big trough this week, which should give way to some really cool mornings. But most models agree that we're going to have some ridging over top, which means that we can get something to form in the southwestern Atlantic. More than likely, it keeps going west. But you can see how we get some more troughing later in the month. But again, though, like our pattern, it looks a little zonal as we go later into the month. So again, looking at our upper level pattern and then looking at our surface level pattern, there's not really a bunch of crazy storms that I'm seeing. I definitely think we're going to see some severe weather opportunities when you have these troughs that dig out in the west like this. But as far as like any really big systems, I'm just not seeing it. So I guess right now the biggest thing that we're watching out for is this area in the southwestern Atlantic, because conditions are still favorable. We're looking at high ocean content over here in the Caribbean and southwestern Atlantic. Now, granted, the Gulf of Mexico's cooled down from Milton and Helene, which is unsurprising, but I wouldn't be surprised if we warm back up over here in the Gulf. And look at the Caribbean. I mean, we're toasting over here in these areas. So anything that's going in these areas, it has the ability to explode still. So now looking at our shear, and generally speaking, our shear is going to be low. Our shear is going to be low for this system. So again, GFS drops it down to a tropical storm. So you have fairly low shear in this area as well. So you have low shear, you have high heat content, as well as you have a pretty lackluster dry air. So again, this should all allow for some pretty good development. We'll see what happens with that. Now looking at our 6-a-day temperature outlook, and here we have the probability of above average temperatures, and you can see how as we start from the 19th to the 23rd, and this is when that ridging starts to build over top. Remember, I was telling you that as the ridging builds over top, we're probably going to see some more mild air across the east. This makes sense to me because we're going to have some pretty decent ridging building over top, which should give way to some warmer air. Looking at 8 to 14 day outlook, it actually gets even warmer. So I could definitely see this. You can kind of see how they're hinting at that troughing developing over the west. So this all makes sense to me. We should also have a pretty quiet area, period as far as no rain. So again, unless you're in Florida, it's gonna be pretty anemic weather, pretty peaceful weather, which is what's much needed since we're still recovering over here in the Western Carolinas. 8 to 14 day outlook, and we're still looking at pretty dry conditions. So again, overall, guys, I'm not seeing anything crazy showing up. I'm just not. Going back to this is probably the most active thing that we're going to be looking at over the next few days or the next week or so, because again, seeing how this year's went with tropical systems, things can change in an instant. So, when I come back in tomorrow, this could be a 70% chance. Who knows? It could be lower. It just all depends on the environmental conditions. Right now, I gotta say though that environmental conditions are still pretty favorable for some significant development of the system. There's high ocean content, high ocean heat content, a low shear, and then no dry air. So this should allow for some significant development of the system. I would not be surprised if we do get a pretty big system with this. Granted, though, how big is still a question mark, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get something developed out of this. This will probably be the next big thing to watch, which again, tropics are gonna continue to be active up until the later we get, that's when shear starts to increase. That's when the water starts to get cooler. So as we start to approach the late end of this month, going into November, that's when you probably start to see things calm down. But until then, guys, we're gonna keep watching these systems that form out of the Caribbean, that form out of southwestern Atlantic, and this is just another tropical system to watch. So that's all I really got, guys. Again, don't expect no real big systems on the horizon, at least as of yet. But again, the biggest thing that we're gonna be watching over the next few days is this area over here in the southwestern Atlantic.